Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Harlequin here, getting ready to cast another awesome 1 versus 1 game for you today on the quaint little map Leviathan Hive. As you can see by all of these toothed, spiny, chitinous protuberances coming up out of the ground, this planet does have a spot of the old Tyrannid infestation, but, you know, we won't hold that against it. Anyhow, today's game is going to be between two tip-top players. It's Space Marines versus Eldar, and first I wanted to mention the fact that in spite of the fact that 97% of my viewers tend to be males, I somehow missed the boat on the fact that Dirk Radix is actually a female. So my apologies out there to Miss Dirk Radix for being a buffoon and spending that entire game referring to her as a he. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get this game started. I want to take a quick second to introduce these two players. Over here on the left hand side, playing as the blue Space Marine, as the Apothecary, we have Mr. RoseN, and RoseN is currently ranked number 1 on the leaderboards, actually 1950-ish skill points or something like that. If you follow leaderboards like I do, that's what's going on there. Meanwhile, his opponent today, Mr. Lindonin, is going to be playing as the Farseer for the Eldar today. Lindonin is ranked 15-ish, 1850, something like that. So two really skilled players here. So let's go ahead and get this started. One thing I always like to look for just right off the bat is just kind of get a feel for what they're valuing the most here. It looks like Lindonin perhaps making a beeline for either a power node or a victory point. Looks like going for this power node here, opting to build Howling Banshees first, whereas RoseN is building a Tactical Marine squad first. That's pretty standard here. I don't think you ever see too many Space Marines skip a first tac squad. The real question here is what is everybody going to get third here? So it looks like RoseN's going for double power supply right off the bat, whereas it looks like Lindonin is going for a power supply and a requisition point. Quite interesting indeed. By the way, I wanted to give a quick shout out during the opening parts of this game to Mr. Patrick Pahalchik and Mr. Red Insider, two Twitter followers who were selected at random and both received DLC contents for single-player war gear and whatnot. So congrats to those guys. Thank you very much for following me on Twitter. And for anyone else, please follow me on Twitter. I will occasionally give out random crap like that anyways. So as you can see, both players are continuing to cap everything on their side of the map. This power node here and this victory point are the two asymmetrical spots on this map where one player or the other has to have the initiative to grab it. We can see that the scouts just ran up here and capped this victory point. Meanwhile, the Farseer is now making her way around to this asymmetrical power node as well. Howling Banshee's just kind of capping up the rest of stuff. And at this point, it looks like Lindonin is on the ball here. So here's our first little bit of combat right now. We've got the Howling Banshees kind of charging in. Looks like getting buffed by a little bit of the Farseer's guard ability there. And now getting healed in addition to, by the Apothecary. So we've got Tactical Marines engaging the Howling Banshees here pretty well. Howling Banshees tend to do pretty well against those guys, especially when buffed with guard. However, the fact that the hit points on the Tactical Marines were reset by the Apothecary just kind of kept all that going there for a little bit. But it looks like, let's take a look in here. It seems like one Tactical Marine is lost there and about 3 Howling Banshees. So that's a slight edge to RoseN, actually. Howling Banshees cost about 2 to 1 for a Space Marine. They're about 40 a pop, and the Space Marine's about 80 something. So, you know, a slight advantage there in terms of resupply for RoseN. Right now you can see this Farseer just continuing to sprint along. Just kind of chasing away these scouts, and meanwhile the Guardians being really aggressive and getting way up into this territory here. So we'll have to see what's going on. It looks like RoseN is upgrading 1 power node, and we have 2 power nodes being upgraded for Lindonin. Lindonin also just got a shuriken cannon, by the way, and we have a second scout squad on the field as well. This is kind of going deep into enemy lines here. Getting a second scout squad as Space Marines always ups your mobility quite a lot. We can see this Farseer just kind of fleet of footing on out of there, not retreating, just sprinting away. But yeah, getting a second scout squad really helps out Space Marines early game in terms of being maneuverable around the map and capping stuff fast. And as you can see, that's exactly what the purpose of this second scout squad is. Kind of one on each side of the map right now. Howling Banshees, however, will definitely give scouts a run for their money if they don't have any way to kind of stall out with like a high explosive shot from the shotguns or anything like that. Just going to have to get on out of there. And nice little interception here going right for the Farseer, but the Farseer activating that retreat right then. Getting a little bit of extra armor and just going to have to get on out of there. So not too much going on for the time being here. Howling Banshees are going to decap this asymmetrical node towards the center. And we have a Shuriken Cannon weapons team moving up towards this central location as well, which can provide some nice firepower. And here we see RoseN's initial build order now starting to look extremely aggressive. By getting 2 scout squads, a tactical marine squad, and now going right into those assault squads. That's pretty hardcore. He's spending his first 50 energy on that, it looks like. That could be really, really aggressive. The Assault Marines will definitely counter that Shuriken weapons team, and unfortunately, it looks like Lindonin has got 2 Shuriken teams, so depending on how he positions them, that could be a real problem with these Assault Marines. And here they come right now, backed up by this Apothecary. Apothecary, by the way, getting the Mastercrafted Bolter, which gives him that full auto ability, allowing him to do like a stream of knockback shots out of it. Always pretty useful here. Unfortunately, this Shuriken Cannon team setting up directly in front of the Tactical Marine Squad, who's just going to be able to punch away at that thing. Not retreating yet, but definitely running. And more towards the middle, we can see, oh, exactly what I was hoping wouldn't happen. This Shuriken weapons team was immediately set upon by this assault squad, forcing them to retreat right away. Howling Banshees, a little wounded, probably don't want to have anything to do with that. So things are looking a little bit tough right now for Lindonin. As you can see, the full might of this Space Marine army is just kind of closing in on him. We've got Tactical Marines and Assault Marines just kind of slugging away at these guys, and oh my god, all of those Guardians were taken out by that combination right there. That's not good at all. Left with just a single Shuriken Cannon and a Farseer on this side of the map. Things are looking a little bit exposed. Now you can see this this real powerful force moving across the map right now. Looks like they're going to just come up here and have their way with Lindonin's generator farm. That is not good at all. There's really nothing Lindonin can do about that at this point in time. The Howling Banshees are just a little bit outclassed here, and it'll be too tricky to set up any sort of Shuriken Cannons without risk of them just being jumped by the Assault Squad. Here we can see the entire Space Marine army is up here in force, just shooting down on this stuff. Looks like the Shuriken weapon team is going to maybe try and set up on this perimeter here. He will certainly be jumped upon if he's not too careful, although let's see how far back he is. You can see that it looks like just kind of staggering the Shuriken weapons team. Not a bad idea. It means this is something you'll see all the time in Coho. Staggered heavy weapons teams always mean that if somebody does assault this one, the rear one can continue firing upon that location here. Looks like opting to spend 50 red right off the bat and get a webway gate up right there. We'll have to see how that's going to be used, but just kind of a nice little forward cloaking, resupplying kind of station. And now it looks like RoseN's just kind of backing off for the time being, but a real disadvantageous position here for Lindonin, and we'll have to see what he plans to do there. So up here on the top right now, we can see this is definitely in the favor of the Howling Banshees. Howling Banshees picking off the leftover scouts here. You can see instantly cutting down one of those models and preparing to cap the rest of this. And looks like the Apothecary just kind of capping this victory point. So for the time being, victory points are about to go to Space Marine 2-1. As you can see, the scores are pretty close, though. 443 for RoseN and 413 for Lindonin. We've got our double Shuriken teams here moving on out. Nothing too fancy there. And really, nothing much happening here at this point in the game. So anyhow. This I do like seeing here, though. So the Farseer is just kind of capping around. So at this point in the game, Lindonin knows that he can't really engage directly on the battlefield. And so I strongly suspect that his kind of modus operandi from this point on out is going to be to harass, just kind of, you know, sneak around. Obviously, that's something that the Eldar want to do anyways. But check out the equipment that we have so far. So we've got Armor of Fortune for the Farseer. That grants the Fortune ability, which you can see right now as these blue glowing kind of lines around the feet. And then the Spirit Stones. Spirit Stones allow the Farseer to heal everybody around her. And the Armor of Fortune obviously allows you to buff, giving decreased damage. So the Farseer right now is pretty tough and pretty healy, but definitely no match for all of this stuff here. I'm going to have to get on out of there. Tactical Marines, Assault Marines, and Apothecary are a triumvirate of doom, so she is running away like crazy here. But bought a little bit of time and actually allowed the Eldar to just kind of recap all some of their stuff that they had lost there. So the Scouts now pressing on up and resetting the score once again 1-1, soon to be 2-1 back to RoseN's favor. And it looks like everybody's well on their way to Tier 2 as all that's going on. Shuriken Weapons team just kind of setting up here, but realizing that the first people in range are going to be these Assault Marines. They are surely just going to pounce right on them. Oh, God, are they going to pounce right on them? No, maybe not. Ooh, I like this, though. Activating the cloaking field for the webway gate right now. Getting a nice little ambush set up here. We can see that these cloaked Howling Banshees are now on the move, pouncing out onto those Tactical Marines. Here in the meantime, we've got the Shuriken team trying their best to retreat away. Shuriken team getting set upon by these Assault Marines. Oh, Shuriken team goes down. But meanwhile, over here, we've got the Assault... sorry, we've got the Tactical Marines and the Howling Banshees engaged in fierce melee, totally backed by the Shuriken team. Oh, God, and it looks like the Apothecary gets cut to pieces in the middle of all that. Tax taking a single casualty there, perhaps taking another one. Meanwhile, the Assault Marines are still doing quite fine, putting pressure on the last remaining Shuriken cannon. Looks like inflicting a little bit of damage there, just kind of getting poked a little bit by this Farseer. And looks like the Howling Banshees right now chasing away the last little bits of of these scouts here who are messing around with that power node. So pretty nice little ambush there. You can see on the way back, the Assault Marines happen to identify this webway gate. They're kind of chopping away at it a little bit, but honestly, it's going to be hard for them to kill it or anything like that just yet. But they are being backed up with the Apothecary right now. Apothecary has just upcreased basically his energy and energy regeneration here with that improved medical equipment. And that's pretty tricky because at any point, just like that, those Assault Marines can be healed back to full. So you kind of have to try your best to play around that whenever the Apothecary is around. Just kind of suddenly healing out all these units here. So anyhow, having already wrecked one gen farm, it looks like RoseN's about to get another good energy advantage here and do some serious damage. But, oh, perhaps just trying to sneak away. Maybe just being a little bit intimidated by that cloaking Farseer running up, expecting perhaps that there were more units there. But it is, in fact, just a Farseer. The Farseer getting enough room for the Shuriken weapons team to set up in the background, though. That's quite cool. But no, here comes the Assault Marines jumping right on top of that Shuriken weapons team, doing quite a bit of damage, and they're going to have to get on out of there. Meanwhile, the Farseer is continuing to just poke around. You can see not taking that much damage from these scouts due to having that fortune ability up. Oh, there was that full auto ability from the Apothecary, knocking her back on her back over and over and over again. A little bit of cutting and chopping going on there. Let's take a look down here, by the way. We do have some reverse gen bashing going on right now as these Howling Banshees are busily cutting their way through their second generator. And it looks like the Apothecary now is finally backing out. He's quite low on mana. Farseer a little bit low on health, but oh, activating Fleet of Foot and then backing away, perhaps as soon as she saw that. And here we have it. Oh, no, that's too bad. Everybody got out of the way, but we do have an Autarch being summoned in right on top of all of that. Autarch getting away to chop left and right on these guys. And let's tune back in here and just see what's going on here with the Howling Banshees. Howling Banshees looks like taking a couple of good whacks at those scouts there, losing a single unit. These Howling Banshees, by the way, are fully upgraded. They do have the aspect of the Banshee, and as you can see, this lovely lady here is the Exarch. And they're getting really beat up here. As you got to remember that tacs are really, really good in close combat. And especially these tacs have been upgraded with a Sergeant as well. So it looks like we have only two survivors here, the Exarch and the regular Banshee, just going to run on home, taking a little bit of damage here, but I don't think these Assault Marines are going to be able to do anything else to them. So now into Tier 2. So we got the Autarch out of Lindonin already, and the Dreadnought is now coming out for RoseN. So we get to see a little bit of that going on. Autarch being super mobile here. Ooh, getting the Executioner Spear. That's kind of cool upgrade. And it's 1-0 right now. It was 254 to 428. That's kind of cool. 428. 428 is kind of a boring number. It was 256, and that's a cool number. 256, perfect square. One of my favorite powers of 2. 428 though, I guess you can arrange the digits in like as a polygonal number, as like a 17-sided gun or something like that, but pretty boring number theoretically. Anyhow, enough math. We're back into the action here. We can see that the score is now 2-1 in favor of Lindonin. And Lindonin has got this awesome positioning here in the Autarch. Autarch and the Farseer right now are just charging on in. It looks like everybody's backing out, but oh, lo and behold, here's his first taste of a Dreadnought. And you can see every time that Dreadnought takes a punch right there, it does a huge chunk of health out of that Autarch. And that Autarch has got to get on out of there. Oh my god! Autarch, you are so beat up right now. Just barely getting out of there. This steam-powered Dreadnought just kind of like shugging away there with his little flamethrower trying to catch up. But no, that's not going to happen. So Dreadnought doing pretty well there. We've got the, ooh, it looks like our Assault Marines were just kind of rocketing on out of there, trying to get some distance between the Howling Banshees there. And like I said, 254 to 398 points right now, so, you know, it's still a reasonably close game. Lindonin is definitely at a disadvantage after that rough start, losing some units and getting kind of pushed around a bit, losing a bunch of generators, but is surprisingly getting back on top of this right now. So you can see, by the way, that he does have a Warp Spider squad out and is building a second Warp Spider squad. This first squad does have the aspect of the Warp Spider, which is a reasonable upgrade indeed to be getting once you see a Dreadnought on the battlefield. It gives them haywire grenades. They can use that to kind of disable the Dreadnought. It does pretty good damage too, but it certainly takes it out of the equation for a good chunk of most fights. The Howling Banshees here are being nice and annoying, capping that victory point. Even the Shuriken weapons team trying to cap some of these missing points here. And now here we have it. Here's our next deep attack coming from RoseN right now. Looks like, ooh, the Autarch got a little bit ambitious there, leapt on in, knocked one gentleman back on, and then just kind of took off again. So this is a force to be reckoned with right now. Apothecary, we got the fully upgraded Tactical Marine Squad, well, the Sergeant bearing Tactical Marine Squad, Assault Squad again with the Sergeant and the Dreadnought, just kind of putting a lot of pressure here on this power node. It looks like the actual power node itself is going down, and the Dreadnought is just kind of using his flamer here on these on the actual generators. Meanwhile, the Howling Banshees are doing their same old handiwork down here as well. But let's take a look.